Good morning and welcome to today the news on Vanguard Live. My name is Gabriela Ogunshaki, and today I will be reviewing the front pages of the papers with you. And after that, of course, we will go to the analysis. But first, let's start with the front page of Vanguard newspaper. And here we have a CBN pegs forex sale at 86 naira per dollar as BDCs resume. And the rider says recession looms despite 2.3 trillion naira stimulus plan, says the federal government. It will be a short-lived recession, and that's coming from the finance minister. Adds Nigerians' GDP performance better than major economies. Council of State ratifies pardon for Ohanaeze'll and others. And also on COVID-19 updates, Lagos records 21 new infections as confirmed cases rise to 53,317. You can see that on page 27. And on the stories above, on page 13, Ohanaeze'll will get to root of Enugu bloodbath, and that's coming from Ugwuanyi. On page 7, we must prosecute culprits responsible for Southern Kaduna killings, and that's coming from OSINBAJO. And on page 8, additional re-elected the AFDB president as Buhari congratulates him. And also on the stories below, Sans Pande play federal government bid to collapse regional security outfits into police, and you can see that on page 27. And on page 6, I won't waste time signing death warrant of man who insulted Prophet Muhammad, and that's coming from Ugwuanyi. Edo APC PDP fight over alleged stage managed kidnapping of opposition members. The rider will ensure free, credible, transparent poll, and that's coming from INEC chairman. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard, we have a COVID-19 federal government shift resumption of international flights to September 5. And from there, we move straight to the Punch newspaper. And on the Punch front page of the Punch newspaper, we have a federal government, National Assembly bringing a rejected water bill through the back door, says Shoika. Bill will give President absolute control of water resources across Nigeria, and that's coming from the playwrights. Federal government wants to acquire water resources for foreigners. That's Ohanaeze'll. It will set Nigeria on fire, says Middle Belt. And you can see that on page 2. And on the story above, we have a government shift international flight resumption to September 5. Federal government planning to pay private school teachers, artisans, and that's coming from OSINBAJO. The stories below, Abuja policemen arrest extorts of survivor in Lagos, and you can see that on page 3. And lastly, on the front page of Punch, we have gunmen kill man steal motorcycle and cash in Osun, and you can see that on page 2. And on The Nation, we have a government flout survivor fund for teachers, artisans, and others. OSINBAJO is on a revival plan at NBA. Why our economy is bankrupt, and that's by Mogalu. You can see that on the front page and page 4. And lastly, on the front page of The Nation, we have what end additional second term by Buhari, Lawan, and others incited. And you can see that on page 2. And on This Day newspaper, my focus now is serving Nigeria, not on 2023, says OSINBAJO. Vice President and young to audit NDDC, and plus church leaders aggrieved over Kama to approve National Assembly. And also CBN resumes forex sales to BDCs on Monday. And lastly, on this day, we have a Council of State and Justice pardon for Ohanaeze'll, 44 others. And you can see that on page 5. And that's all we have on the paper review for this morning. I will be going on a short break now, and I have a guest in the studio who will be joining me to analyze the front pages. Stay with us and don't forget to leave your opinion in the comment section. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Danola Ogushaki. And of course, the first segment I've reviewed there, the front pages of the papers, that's the Vanguard, the Nation, the Punch, and also this the newspaper. And this is the analysis segment. So I have a guest with me, and he's the person of Mr. Ifeanyi Okoye, a public affairs analyst. You're welcome, Mr. Ifeanyi.
Thank you.
Yes, of course, it's been a long time that we've tried to meet us in the studio. But okay, so going straight to the, of course, what we're discussing today. So let's just talk about Amotekun and the president's decision to collapse the security networks across the country into the Nigerian police force, and also put it under, it's under the control of the Inspector General of Police. So what do you think about the president's decision?
The president still remains the CNC. I think it's like as the issue of Amotekun. I don't think it's within the jurisdiction of the presidency. Looking at Nigeria, the composition of the country, we operate a federal system of government where each component has right to control what comes from its state. But taking a good look again into the 1999 Constitution, we have two areas which are critical and germane to development of every sector of the society. Like some of the issues, when you talk about the concurrent or exclusive list, if you look at the concurrent list, there are things that run concurrently at the federal and state level. The issue of security presently in Nigeria, we don't have state police. It's something that runs on the exclusive list. Thereby, the federal government has the sole right to decide on security. I think maybe that's where the president is coming from. But Amotekun is not funded by the federal government. Neither is it a state police or does it operate under community policing, which the present IG of police has been championing in line with the best practice of best practice and global standard of policing. But Amotekun is just a regional outfit of security funded by the 6 Southwest governors with their own resources at their disposal at the state level, not from the federal government. And what brought about the Amotekun, if we ask ourselves a question, which the presidency is saying should be under the IG. To me, I don't see any reason why Amotekun should be under the so-called IG of police, because the primary aim of every state and government is to provide security, whereby they have failed to curtail the excesses of these so-called Fulani herdsmen. It is the duty and the right of the state government, who are at their own state, the chief security officer, even though they don't have apparatus of the federal security at their disposal. It's left for them to find a way to protect their people, which is what they have done by bringing about Amotekun. And Amotekun has come to stay in the sense that it has come to combat the so-called excesses and failures of the so-called Nigerian police, which have not risen up to challenge to protect the people from the killings, the minings and destruction which has been brought about as a result of the Fulani herdsmen. So the president saying the IG should take charge of Amotekun is very wrong. Amotekun is an independent body. The only thing, they can set out regulations for them, but you cannot control them.
You talked about the funding, and the funding is actually one of the major issues right now, because the federal government, according to Kabashe, it says that the federal government might actually not be able to fund these security outfits. I know we have a lot of other groups that have come out to say that the federal government needs to fund it because, of course, it's security and they're just trying to help the police. And also the state government, according to the report, the state government, and others, they've said they will not, of course, they will not be the one to sponsor it, because security is supposed to be funded by the federal government. Now my question is, who should this control of this operation be under? If the federal government is the one that is sponsoring it, or if the state government is the one that is sponsoring it?
Well, if the federal government should come in to fund Amotekun, indirectly they have surrendered their rights, and their not just their rights, but the so-called benefits and their well-being as a people to the government, the federal government through the police. Because Amotekun is a security outfit. Yes, the only thing that matters is there should be intelligence gathering or synergy between the Nigerian police and Amotekun, because the two cannot be as separate loggerhead, because they must work in tandem to achieve a result, because the purpose there is to secure life and property and preserve the state from chaos and the interference of intruders, which are the so-called headsmen and the Fulani militants.
But part of the things that they are saying is that if the state government are going to want to fund it, are they going to increase, of course, the allocation and all the things? If they are going to fund the security app, because this security app is also supposed to complement what the police are saying, and considering that, of course, I think a week ago, sometime recently, 13 billion naira was fine signed by the president, for community policing.
Like I've said earlier, the Amotekun will only complement the efforts of the police. But saying that the police, asking who will fund Amotekun is a funny question, because the state governor should think out of the box. It is time they secure their people and secure the interest of the state. Because when there is problem within a state, you scare foreign or potential investors coming in to do business in that state, and thereby you lose billions or millions of revenue that will have been accrued to the state. So it's left for them to think out of the box, find a way to fund it, cut waste and excesses and fund it, because there is no other time such thing is being needed than now.
Okay. So moving on, we're talking about APC and what has been going on in those states and all that. I'm very sure, I think you are from Tessa, so you should know what is going on. You've keeping up with the election. So recently, APC has alleged that has alleged plans by Governor Obaseki and the people the PDP to arrest its leaders over staged managed the kidnappings in Edo State, and then blame its members for the disappearance. So what do you think about these recent allegations? Because we've been seeing different allegations coming from the two parties.
Yeah. These allegations are laughable. Saying a party will kidnap its own main gladiators and actors and accuse the opposition. Well, I don't know what to say, but it's laughable. But the only thing, we should just be patient and wait till September 19. If there will be bloodbath in Edo State, there will be. And I don't think the election will be.
Why is it that there will be bloodbath in Edo State?
Of course, we saw it on the day the PDP did their inauguration, which they went to Oba's Palace. Vehicles were being destroyed, people were injured by thugs suspected to be loyalists of the so-called opposition party in the state. So it's not a new thing, and I don't think the so-called estranged godfather of Kaduna, Obaseki, is losing sleep.
But do you think this type of allegation should just be left be or without it being
Have they investigated others? A few days back, this deputy governor accused some group of politicians with Oshomole, and I think the present governorship candidate of the APC, of sponsoring thugs and empowering them with weapons to cause mayhem and scare voters on the day of the election, which is probably on September 19. So what do you expect? If such is not investigated, it will be a free-for-all fight. And mind you, the APC government, they are not ready for free and fair election. So it will be difficult for Obaseki to return as governor. Okay, even though he'll be voted for.
Okay, but still talking about this now, talking about the September 19 coup now, due to these different allegations and all that, and also due to the violent threats that many people have been seeing on social media, it says that the scenario of those states that coming out that day might actually be very difficult. So do you actually think this will affect the voting for that day?
Well, it's left for the federal government to take a neutral stand and make sure that there is no compromise or breach or among the security agency, to be neutral in their part and let the will of the people be done. Because whereby the security outfit plays a supports a candidate against another, then that's where you expect crisis in the state. So we shouldn't expect what is happening to change, except the federal government calls the security agency to order.
Okay, so as a citizen of Edo State, what do you actually expect, and how do you actually think that the people? Do you expect a lot of people to come out? That's one of my things.
People are willing and ever ready.
But talking about the violence
yes,
is the threat, and that's what people are looking at.
That is why the security outfit should be neutral in discharging their duty and making sure that voters are protected and there is peaceful conduct of the process.
Okay, so just moving on, going to talking about the blasphemy and all that, talking about what is going on. So Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State says he resigned the execution warrant of a 30-year-old man who was recently sentenced to death by hanging at that time by the Sharia court in the state. I'm sure you've heard about the story and what is going on, and also the follow-up story. So what do you actually think about the governor's statement?
Well, I still believe that we are not in a Muslim country, because the last time I knew, Nigeria was a secular state. But whereby there are two laws in one country, of course, the constitution still remains the ground norm and is supreme. Yes, in section 1, subsection 1 said, whereby the laws of the land are inconsistent with the constitution. Any law that is inconsistent with the constitution of the land, by reason of such doing, such laws become null and void. So you can't tell me that you have Sharia law and we call ourselves a secular state, and to some other region of the country there is another law. Which one will become operative? The only excuse they give is that the so-called Sharia law is being administered by the Muslims, for the Muslims.
No, but according to report says, anybody that agrees to be a Muslim already knows this law. So if you are a Muslim, you already know that this is what you're
Take for instance, I'm a Muslim,
so,
and I'm a Muslim, and I'm here, I'm residing in Southwest here, and I commit any offense. Can you try me with that law? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Because those laws are only obtainable in some certain regions. It is not obtainable here.
But in that region, he is aware that he knows what is going to happen.
The government allowed it. That law cannot be supreme than the constitution. The law can't be supreme than the constitution. It's just that most of them in those areas, they claim to be holier than they are fanatics. Yes, even the Christian Association of Nigeria said such that it's none of their business, it's a Muslim affair. But you cannot be administering a law. After all, we operate a common law setting from England, telling me that Sharia is supreme in such region. What if it's obtainable between a Muslim and a Christian? Will the law take such side again? Sometimes we have to ask ourselves questions. It's not reasonable.
But he was given 30 days. He was given 30 days to appeal for this, and he said he would not end up thinking about it. So
well, it's left to his lawyers now. He's left his lawyers to do the needful.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's been lovely having you with us in the studio and for sharing your thoughts with us. And of course, that's what we have for you. But of course, before we go, let's just look at the sports. And here we have Basa president offers to step aside if Messi stays. And of course, Kane altered to Basa as Mane offered to Basa as Messi's replacement. Oba tests positive to coronavirus. Mikel not yet for action. And also Europa, Gallo's goal voted third best. And also NBA players back down on boycott threats. And Joshua is saying, I want to break Fury's head. That's interesting, coming from the boxing champion. And that's all on the sports. And also just looking at what Mr. and Mrs. they're saying. And of course, the first person talking today is Mr. It says, trust, of course, I trust you, but how would I know if another man touches you outside? And Mrs. replied, don't worry, I will submit myself to a fingerprint examination when I come back. Actually, these people's things actually it's just funny every day. And that's all we have for you. Thank you, Mr. Ifeanyi Okoye, a public affairs analyst. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us and coming on studio once again. And that's all we have for you on Today in the News. You can always like and follow us on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen, or visit our website www.vanguardngr.com to get more of our top story. Of course, today is Friday. Enjoy your weekend. It's bye from me, Tandola.